Time zone watches are fascinating, a brilliant complication until you realize they all share the same fundamental flaw, which makes them for most of the time useless. But there is a solution delivered by today's watch through a unique and groundbreaking technical feature, so rare I was lucky to handle the prototype. That's why today we will look at what world timers miss and especially how today's watch finally solves it. Hello and welcome back to Watchmaker, and today actually with the first review on a timepiece on this channel, and what a one. Now, to appreciate today's watch and my fascination behind it, we need to understand the problem it solves, which is rarely discussed but a crucial issue in world timers never solved before. And once you break down the problem, you will learn to see and appreciate the complexity of its mechanics, but also understand why this watch is truly a breakthrough. As we all know, the world is divided into 24 time zones, each 1 hour apart, except for New Delhi and a few others, which is important to keep in mind. The system works well if time zones were static, but the problem is that many countries use daylight saving time, known also as DST. Some countries adjust the clock 1 hour forward in summer and back in winter, while others like Iran or Israel start DST on different dates each year. Some countries don't change the clocks at all, like Japan for instance, and as if it was not enough, parts of Australia make even half-hour adjustments. Now, this DST changes disrupt world times, meaning a regular world timer, which assumes fixed 1 hour time zones, will be incorrect for most of the year. So in short, a classic world timer is always wrong during DST because it is either set for DST and most of the world is off, or it is set for standard time and DST regions are wrong. By the way, if you're not familiar with why we even adjust the clocks, it goes actually back to 1916 when countries like Germany and Austria first introduced the idea to save fuel and energy by reducing the need for artificial light in the evenings, and other countries like the UK and the US soon followed. So as you can see, the problem is quite complex. I mean, how could you possibly account for all of this mechanically in a single watch? Well, the answer is a clever but complex and entirely unique roller system, which took the House of Bove over 6 years to develop and patent. First of all, this roller system was introduced by Bove for the first time with the Recital 28 Prowess 1, which back then also included other complications like the patented double-sided flying tourbillon and the perpetual calendar. So today's version is the evolution of the Prowess 1, more compact, more wearable for average wrist sizes, and with a stronger focus on the world time feature. At first glance, the dial looks like a static printed city ring, but it isn't, because what you're looking at are 24 individual city rollers and 2 other rollers that surround the dial. Now, the mesmerizing thing is each of these rollers is a small round tube that can rotate, but what's the point of this rotation? Now, when you press the top pusher, all of the rollers flip 90 degrees at the same time, updating the display for the correct time zones depending on the part of the year, just like the departure boards at airports where everything changes at once. And something else I also like about this feature is actually that the rollers are built into the dial itself, so they don't look like some add-on feature, they feel like part of the watch design. And I'm saying this because that's why many people miss their significance at first glance, because the innovation doesn't really shout, and it is something you have to discover. Now, there's a separate roller showing the 4 time period settings at 2 o'clock, such as UTC, American Summertime, European and American Summertime, and European Winter Time. By the way, when these periods occur is actually explained on the oscillator, which I find to be a very cool extra feature, and one that helps use this function more efficiently. What you also probably have noticed is the yellow extra minute hand and the arrow in yellow, which is actually there to display New Delhi's half-hour offset, so the world time remains accurate globally, even with that unusual time zone. By the way, this can actually be customized either with another half-hour offset city, a quarter-hour offset city, or removed entirely. Now, another important thing to highlight on the dial is the inner circle, which shows the time of the day for all the 24 cities. It tells you whether it is morning, afternoon, evening, or night in that zone. Now, I know that often the solution sometimes looks simple at first glance, and we forget what it really takes to make it look simple. That's why I would love to reveal what truly lies behind this system, but of course the brand keeps those details confidential. But what we do know and what we can see here is that every roller is fitted with its own gear, meaning these individual gears are all connected to a large ring gear running beneath the dial. Now you can imagine the amount of torque required to move a gear of that size, and yet Bove achieves this using just a single barrel while still maintaining an impressive 62-hour power reserve. What's also important for this feature to even function is if you pay close attention, you will notice that some rollers feature the same city multiple times, as we can see here with the two rollers at 12 o'clock. So this means an enormous number of possible states must be accounted for as the roller rotates, requiring extensive calculations to ensure the system remains coherent and functional at all times. And I had to mention this because this is actually what it really takes for the feature to even work properly. And keep in mind, what we're seeing is only a small part of the engineering behind it. Now that we have an understanding of just how unique this feature really is, I would say let's give it a try and see how it works. Because as complex as this mechanism might be, using it is pretty simple, and that's exactly what makes it so beautiful. So let's do a real test based on where I live, and in this case my local time would be Switzerland. Now the first thing I do is I adjust the period indicator to UTC, since we are currently in the period where both Europe and North America have returned to their standard winter time. Next I set my local time, and to make it easier, let's choose a full hour such as 10 o'clock in the morning in Switzerland. Important here, I make sure the day and night indicator corresponds to the local time in your time zone. So in my case, I would adjust it by pressing the pusher at 4 o'clock until I have Geneva at 10 o'clock in the morning. By the way, before I forget it, the rollers can actually be customized with your desired city or even village, considering of course the time zone. So from this point on, we are ready to go, and just by a push of the pusher at 2 o'clock, we can switch between different periods of the year, with the changes being considered automatically. This means the next time I would change the period is actually on March 8th, when America switches to American summertime. Then again on March 29th, I will press the pusher again when Europe switches to summertime. And as you can see, that's really all the magic it needs. Simple, efficient, and no bachelor's degree required. Now this watch perfectly shows why independent watchmaking is on the rise, and I even covered this in more detail in a video a few weeks ago. But for now, looking at today's timepiece, it is a statement to a few key things. So with that said, what's my honest verdict on today's watch, and what's the takeaway? What also struck me about this watch is the fact that Bove managed to create a technically advanced feature while still keeping the watch wearable. I mean, the fact that this watch uses a central oscillator combined with a complex feature while remaining quite slim at just 12.9mm in height and 42mm in diameter is indeed an achievement in my opinion. So all of this leads to a movement containing 373 components housed within, for the first time, fully made in-house case, which if purchased in red gold can even be hand engraved to your liking. And I believe all of this is worth highlighting in a world where some watch brands miss the essence of true luxury, which in my view lies in personality, individuality and uniqueness. And the timepiece I have shown you today really sums this up and makes me happy as a watchmaker to see that some brands don't believe the saying the wheel can be reinvented and are thinking outside of the box to prove otherwise. Because timepieces like this offer truly refreshing and innovative features, a unique design DNA, and on top of that, customization and bespoke options, letting you be part of something rather than just a means to an end. With that said, it's time to wrap up today's episode and our first watch review on this channel, which I hope has inspired you the way it did me the first time I came across it. If you have any questions about this watch, the House of Bove, or if there are certain watches and brands you would like me to cover, let me know at any time. In the meantime, if you haven't already, hit the like button and subscribe for more watchmaking related content. But for now, thank you for tuning in, but most importantly, stay blessed and see you next time.